Arcane Horror. Upon ascending to the second floor of the tower, we were greeted by a gruesome sight, a ragged collection of bones wearing the robes of one of the senior enchanters. I had known her for years, watched her raise countless apprentices, and now she was a mere puppet for some demon. Transcribed from a tale told by a Templar in Antiva City, 713 Storm. Demons, of course, have no form in our world. When they enter, either where the veil is particularly thin or through blood magic summoning, they must take possession of a body. When a pride demon takes control of the corpse of a mage, an arcane horror is born. Although they appear to be little more than bones, these are fierce creatures possessing not only all the spellcasting abilities of a living mage, but also the capacity to heal and even command other animated corpses. Golem. Once a crucial part of Orzammar's defenses, golems have all but vanished as the secret to the manufacturers was lost over 1,000 years ago. What few golems remain are guarded closely by the Shaperate, brought out by when the battle with the Darkspawn grows desperate enough to risk their loss. No one now would sell a golem for any price, but in ancient times dwarves sold many golems to their majesty lords of Tevinter. They are devastating weapons in war, living siege engines, capable of hurling boulders like a catapult or ploughing through enemy lines like an earthquake. Rat. What are you, mad? Even the most giant of rats isn't going to represent that much of a problem to anyone larger than a cat. Even the stories in the archives tell of the blight-touched rats still only attributed to... No. What? Even the stories in the archives that tell of the blight-touched rats still only attributed them with their ability to spread the plague. The rats themselves grow no larger than perhaps 3 feet in length, covered in sharp bony spikes and boils. Disturbing, certainly, but dangerous. This is no fantasy conjured by madmen, young man. You have much more important creatures to concern yourself with. Transcript of a lecture given by Nalia, senior enchanter of Hossberg, 844 Blessed. Note, she was later eaten by a blight rat in 846 Blessed. Skeleton. The demons of the Fade are jealous of the living beings they sense from across the veil. They constantly push against the boundaries of the Fade, and when they finally cross over, they attempt to possess the first living creature they see. They are unable, however, to distinguish that which was once living from that which still is. In fact, the corpse provides even more tempting target to a weaker demon, as it has no will with which to resist the possession. The demon cannot rationalize why this is so. It only sees a target and grasps at the opportunity. A skeleton is exactly that, a corpse animated by a possessing demon. Upon finding itself trapped within a body that cannot sustain it, the demon is driven insane. It seeks to destroy any life that it encounters, attacking without thought to its own welfare. The exact names given to skeletons of this type vary according to the names of the demons that possess it. A fanged skeleton is a skeleton possessed by a hunger demon. These skeletons devour whatever life they encounter and often possess the ability to drain life, energy and mana from their victims. A shambling skeleton is a slower moving skeleton possessed by a sloth demon, able to bring entropic powers against its opponents, slowing them and even putting them to sleep. More powerful demons have been known to command skeletons, but at that level they are known by other names, revenants and arcane horrors to name 2. Sloth Demon. And I looked at the creature, and it had become me. A veritable copy of my form, of my very mind, stared back at me as if from within a mirror. I thought surely that this was a trick, an illusion meant to put me off guard. But as I engaged the thing with my sword, it fought me with maneuvers that I recognized. It parried as I parried. It swung as I swung. It spoke to me and said things that only I could know. I think this demon of sloth has no form or identity of its own. It's envy as much as sloth, I believe, and mine was not the first shape it stole that day. An excerpt from a transcribed deposition of Tyrenus, Templar commander of Cumberland, 390 Towers. The most difficult assumption for someone who studies demons to overcome is the notion that a sloth demon is, in and of itself, slothful. If that were so, it seems highly unlikely that any such demons would cross the veil into our world, or once here would fight to possess any creature with a will of its own, and we know both these things to not be the case. Certainly some demons are lazy and complacent, but who knows, perhaps these creatures even cultivate such a reputation. The truth is that demons of sloth are named so because this is the portion of the human psyche that they feed upon. Doubt, apathy, entropy. They seek to spread these things. The sloth demon hides in its forms, a master of shapes and disguises, always in the last place you look. And from its hiding place it spreads its influence. A community afflicted by a demon of sloth could soon become a dilapidated pit where injustices are allowed to pass without comment, and none of the residents could be aware that such changes even had taken place. The sloth demon weakens, tears at the edges of consciousness, and would much rather render its victim helpless than engage in a true conflict. Such creatures are best faced only with a great deal of will, and only with an eye to piercing their many disguises. Wisp. A great deal is made of the most powerful demons, those that create abominations, and those that have changed the history of theaters. It is often forgotten that not all demons are such awe-inspiring beings. Some that break through the cracks in the veil into our world are known as wisps, a sliver of a thought that once was. A wisp is a demon that has lost its power. Either it has existed in our world for too long without finding a true host, or it has been destroyed, often, so we found, by other demons. What remains of its mind clings tightly to the one concept that created it, a hatred of all things living. While its ability to target a living creature is limited, these wisps often mindlessly attacked when encountered in the Fade. In the living world, they often have been known to maliciously lure the living into dangerous areas, being mistaken for lanterns or other civilized light sources. This does, however, seem to be the very limit of their cunning. From the journal of a former senior enchanter, Malleus, once of the Circle of Revane, declared a post-89 920 Dragon Age. Magic and religion. We've had this, and we have not had that. The Black City. No traveller to the Fade can fail to spot the Black City. It is one of the few constants of that ever-changing place. No matter where one might be, the city is visible, always far off, for it seems that the only rule of geography in the Fade is that all points are equidistant from the Black City. The chant teaches that the Black City was once the seat of the Maker, from whence he ruled the Fade, left empty when man turned away from him. Dreamers do not go there, nor do spirits. Even the most powerful demons seem to avoid the place. It was golden and beautiful once, so the story goes, until a group of powerful Majesty Lords from the Tevinter Imperium devised a means of breaking in. When they did so, their presence defiled the city, turning it black, which was perhaps the least of their worries. From Beyond the Veil, Spirits and Demons by Enchanter Mirdromel. The Fraternity of Enchanters. Another aspect of circle life is the fraternity. When a mage becomes an enchanter, he may ally himself with a fraternity. These are cliques that cross the circle boundaries, mages of common interests and goals who band together to ensure that their voice is heard within the College of Magi in Cumberland. The largest fraternities currently are the Loyalists, who advocate loyalty and obedience to the chantry, the Equitarians, who advocate temperance and follow a distinct code of conduct which they believe all mages should hold themselves to, the Libertarians, a growing fraternity, publicly maintaining greater power for the circle but secretly advocating a complete split from the chantry, a dangerous opinion, naturally. The Isolationists, a small group that advocates withdrawing to remote territories in order to avoid conflicts with the general populace. The Lacrosians, who maintain that the circle must do what is profitable first and foremost. They prioritize the accumulation of wealth, with the gaining of political influence a close second. So far, an alliance between the Loyalists and Equitarians has prevented the Libertarians from gaining much headway, but there are signs that the Equitarians may throw their support in with the Libertarians. If that happens, many mages predict it will come to civil war among the circles. From the Circle of Magi, a history of a first enchanter Josephus. If you are at all interested in what might happen if, and if you're interested if that happens, read the book Asunder by David Gader. Hierarchy of the Circle. It is no simple matter safeguarding ordinary men from mages and mages from themselves. Each circle tower must have some measure of self-government, for it is ever the Maker's will that men be given power to take responsibility for our own actions, to sin and fail, as well as to achieve the highest grace and glory of our own strength. You, who will be tasked with the protection of the circle, must be aware of its workings. The first enchanter is the heart of any tower. He will determine the course his circle will take. He will choose which apprentices may be tested and made for mages, and you will work most closely with him. Assisting the first enchanter will be the senior enchanters, a small council of the most trusted and experienced magi in the tower. From this group, the next first enchanter is always chosen. Beneath the council are the enchanters. These are the teachers and mentors of the tower, and you must get to know them in order to keep your finger on the pulse of the circle, for the enchanters will always know what is happening among the children. All those who have passed the Harrowing but have not taken apprentices are mages. This is where most trouble in the circle lies, in the idleness and inexperience of youth. The untested apprentices are the most numerous denizens of any tower, but they more often pose threats to themselves due to their lack of training than to anyone else. Knight Commander Serene of the Chantry Templars in a letter to his successor. History of the Circle. It is a truth universally acknowledged that nothing is more successful in inspiring a person to mischief as being told not to do something. Unfortunately, the Chantry of the Divine Age had some trouble with obvious truths. Although it did not outlaw magic, quite the contrary, as the Chantry relied upon magic to rekindle the eternal flame which burns in every brazier in every Chantry, it relegated mages to lighting candles and lamps, perhaps occasional dusting of rafters and eaves. I will give my readers a moment to contemplate how well such a role satisfied the mages of the time. It surprised absolutely no one when the mages of Val Royeaux, in protest, snuffed the sacred flames of the cathedral and barricaded themselves inside the choir loft. No one, that is, but divine Ambrosia II, who was outraged and attempted to order an exalted march upon her own cathedral. Even her most devout Templars discouraged that idea. For 21 days the fires remained unlit, while negotiations were conducted, legend tells us, by shouting back and forth from the loft. The mages went cheerily into exile in a remote fortress outside of the capital, where they would be kept under the watchful eye of the Templars and the council of their own elder magi. Outside of normal society and outside of the Chantry, the mages would form their own closed society, the Circle, separated from for the first time in human history. From Of Fires, Circles and Templars, A History of Magic in the Chantry, by Sister Petrine, Chantry Scholar. The Harrowing. Among apprentices of the Circle, nothing is regarded with more fear than the Harrowing. Little is known about this rite of passage, and that alone would be cause for dread. But it is well understood that only those apprentices who pass this trial are ever seen again. They return as full members of the Circle of Magi. Those who fail, nothing is known. Of those who fail, nothing is known. Perhaps they are sent away in disgrace, perhaps they are killed on the spot. I heard one patently ridiculous rumor among the Circle of Wynne, which claimed that the failed apprentices were transformed into pigs, fattened up and served at dinner to the senior enchanters, but I could find no evidence that the Wynne Circle ate any particular quantity of pork. From In Pursuit of Knowledge, The Travels of a Chantry Scholar by Brother Gen TV. The cardinal rules of magic. You must not be under the misimpression that magic is all-powerful. There are limits, and not even the greatest mages may overcome them. No one, for instance, has found any means of traveling either over great distances or small ones beyond putting one foot in front of the other. The immutable nature of the physical world prevents this. So no, you may not simply pop over to Minrathous to borrow a cup of sugar, nor may you magic the essay you forgot in the apprentice dormitory to your desk. You will simply have to be prepared. Similarly, when you send your mind into the Fade, your body remains behind. Only once has this barrier been overcome, and reputedly the spell required 2/3 of delirium in the Tevinter Imperium, as well as the lifeblood of several hundred slaves. The results were utterly disastrous. Finally, life is finite. A truly great healer may bring someone back from the very precipice of death, when breath and heartbeat have ceased, but the spirit still clings to life. But once the spirit has fled the body, it cannot be recalled. That is no failing of your skills or power, it is simple reality. From the Lectures of the First Enchanter, Wenceslas. Wenceslas seems to be a Tevinter name, I would say. The four schools of magic. Creation. Opposition in all things. For earth, sky, for winter, summer, for darkness, light. By my will alone is balance sundered, and the world given new life. Threnodies 5.5. And I've learned that Threnodies is a word and not a name. It's the same word in my mother tongue, and I didn't even know it there, and I'm not exactly illiterate, so that's saying something. It's got something to do with Greek literature, ancient Greek literature, some sort of dirge text. Yes. The School of Creation, sometimes called the School of Nature, is second of the schools of matter, the balancing force and complement of entropy. Creation magic manipulates natural forces, transforming what exists and brings new things into being. Creation requires considerable finesse, more than any other school, and is therefore rarely mastered. Those mages who have made a serious study of creation are the highest in demand, useful in times of peace as well as war. From the Four Schools, a treatise by First Enchanter Josephus. The Four Schools of Magic. Entropy. To you, my second-born, I grant this gift. In your heart shall burn an unquenchable flame, all-consuming and never satisfied. Threnodies 5.57. Damn it. The second of the two schools of matter, entropy, is the opposing force of creation. For this reason it is often called the School of Negation. Nothing lives without death. Time inevitably brings an end to all things in the material world, and yet in this ending is the seed of a beginning. A river may flow its banks, causing havoc, but bring new life to its floodplain. The fire that burns a forest ushers in new growth, and so it is within entropic magic that we manipulate the forces of erosion, decay, and destruction to create new. From the Four Schools of the Four Schools, a treatise by First Enchanter Josephus. The Four Schools of Magic, Spirit, and the voice of the Maker shook the fade, saying, In my image I have wrought my firstborn. You have been given dominion over all that exists. By your will all things are done, yet you do nothing. The realm I have given you is formless, ever-changing. Notes 5:4. The first of the two schools of energy, Spirit, is opposed to the Primal school. It is the school of mystery, the ephemeral school. This is a study of the invisible energies which surround us all at all times, yet are outside of nature. It is from the fate itself that this magic draws its power. Students of this school cover everything from direct manipulation of mana and spell energies to the study of the and summoning of spirits themselves. By its nature, an esoteric school, as most others know virtually nothing about the fate, studies of spirit magic are often misunderstood by the general populace or even confused for blood magic. An unfortunate fate for a most useful branch of study. From the Four Schools, a treatise by First Enchanter Josephus, and I very nearly forgot that. Four Schools of Magic, Primal. Those who oppose thee shall know the wrath of heaven. Field and forest shall burn, the seas shall rise and devour them. The wind shall tear their nations from the face of the earth. Lightning shall rain down from the sky. They shall cry out to their false gods and find silence. Andraste 7:19. Sometimes called the School of Power, the Primal School is the second of the schools of energy, balanced by spirit and concerns the most visible and tangible forces of nature itself. This is the magic of war, fire, ice and lightning, devastation. This is what the vast majority imagines when they hear the word magic. From the Four Schools, a treatise by First Enchanter Josephus. Beyond the Veil, Spirits and Demons. It is challenging enough for the casual observer to tell the difference between the Fade and the creatures that live within it, let alone between the one type of spirit and another. In truth, there is little that distinguishes them, even for the most astute mages. Since spirits are not physical entities and are therefore not restricted to recognizable forms, or even having a form at all, one can never tell for certain what is alive and what is merely part of the scenery. It is therefore advisable for the inexperienced researcher to greet all objects he encounters. That's basically what we are doing in the spirit form, isn't it? Typically we misuse the term spirit to refer only to the benign or at least malevolent creatures, or at least less malevolent creatures of the Fade, but in truth all the denizens of the realm beyond the veil are spirits. As the Chant of Light notes, everything within the Fade is a mimicry of our world, a poor imitation, for the spirits do not remotely understand what they are copying. It is no surprise that much of the Fade appears like a manuscript translated from Tevinter into Olesian and back again by drunken initiates. In general, the spirits are not complex, or rather they are not complex as we understand such things. Each one seizes upon a single facet of human experience: rage, hunger, compassion, hope, etc. This one idea becomes their identity. We classify as demons those spirits who identify themselves with darker human emotions and ideas. The most common and weakest form of demon one encounters in the Fade is a rage demon. They are much like perpetually boiling kettles, for they exist only to vent hatred, but rarely have an object to hate. Somewhat above these are the hunger demons, who do little but eat or attempt to eat everything they encounter, including other demons. This is rarely successful. Then there are sloth demons. These are the first intelligent creatures one typically finds in the Fade. They are dangerous only to those rare occasions that they can be induced to get up and do harm. Desire demons are more clever and far more powerful, using all forms of bribery to induce mortals into their realms. Wealth, love, vengeance, whatever lies closest to your heart. The most powerful demons yet encountered are the pride demons, perhaps because they, among all their kind, most resemble men. From Beyond the Veil of Spirits and Demons by Enchanter Madame Drummel. The Veil. I detest this notion that the veil is some manner of invisible curtain that separates the world of the living from the world of the spirits. Whether it be called the Fade or the Beyond is a matter of racial politics I refuse to indulge in at the moment. There is no this side and that side when it comes to the veil. One cannot think of it as a physical thing or a barrier or even shimmering wall of holy light. Thank you very much for that image, your perfection. Think of the veil instead as opening one's eyes. Before you opened them, you saw our world as you see it now, static, solid, unchanging. Now that they are open, you see our world as the spirits see it, chaotic, ever-changing, a realm where the imagined and the remembered have as much substance as that which is real, more, in fact. A spirit sees everything as defined by will and memory, and this is why they are so very lost when they cross the veil. In our world, imagination has no substance. Objects exist independently of how we remember them or what emotions we associate with them. Mages alone possess the power to change the world with their minds, and perhaps this forms the nature of a demon's attraction to them. Who can say? Regardless, the act of passing through the veil is much more about changing one's perceptions than a physical transition. The veil is an idea. It is the act of transition itself, and it is only the fact that both living beings and spirits find the transition difficult that gives the veil any credence as a physical barrier at all. From A Dissertation on the Fade as a Physical Manifestation by Marino, Senior Enchanter of the Minratha Circle of Magi, 655 Steel. Somehow I thought that I had a feeling this is a Tevinter thing. Why did I? I don't know. I've read that. Is there even anything? Yes. The Tevinter Imperium. The Imperium is little more than a dilapidated old slattern, crouching in the far north of Thedas, drunkenly cursing at passers-by to recall her faded beauty. One can see that Minrathous was once the center of the world. The vestiges of her power and artistry yet stand, but they are buried in the layers of filth that the Imperium's decadence has accumulated over the ages. The Megocracy live in elegant stone towers, literally elevated above the stench of the slaves and peasants below. The outskirts of Minrathous are awash in a sea of refugees turned destitute by the never-ending war between the Imperium and the Qunari. And yet the Imperium survives. Whether with sword or magic, Tevinter remains a force to be reckoned with. Minrathous has been besieged by men, by Qunari, by Andraste herself, and never fallen. From In Pursuit of Knowledge, The Travels of a Chantry Scholar by Fraternity TV. Characters. There is nothing new on Alistair, I don't think. Wynne. That is what we already had. Then she spent many years mentoring apprentices within the circle, and her peers thought so highly of her that she was asked the first enchanter to be First Enchanter Irving's successor. That I think we already had that too, but she refused, saying that she has no desire to work in the upper echelons. When word reached the tower of King Kaelin's call to arms, when Wynne volunteered to go to Osaka. Yes, we already had that. For Wynne, the printed word is a window to true understanding. A scholar by heart, she feels that what people commit to the page is sacred by definition. Notes. The Black Vials, binding the first corpse walker. Let the dead no longer serve your whim. Bound by your true name, no mortal hand shall reach you. Kael, Vaya, Zagat, revenant and perversion of an only son. Death beyond death is no longer your sleeping stone through the veil. Your stepping stone through the veil. Andraste hold you, demon, and bind your reach for eternities. 6 thumbprints in blood mark the end of the text. That was the fallen statue. Correspondence Interruptus, we have a new one. A delicate matter. While I'm overjoyed at the prospect of having you and our welcome guest requires that you excuse yourself by the posting of my state to avoid a mark upon our reputation, M. I think this was new. Yes. Circles within circles. Arguments between the various fraternities have become more frequent and heated. I've alerted the College of Magi in Cumberland that this needs to be addressed in coming debates, but I fear relations with the Chantry may distract them. I'm confident that I can appease the Equitarians and Loyalists, but the Libertarians are proving divisive. Are the Isolationists even interested in speaking? The threat of blight has actually served some good in unifying us under a common cause, but it does not bode well that any given table in the Great Hall is likely to be ideologically weighted against its neighbor. We can't be such a moody bunch staring over our tea. Excerpt from First Enchanter Irving's Notes on Unity. The Notes of Arl Foreshadow. Books to pursue for future endeavors. Lost Countenance. Ferelden Legion Phrasebook. Must not offend the potential landlords. Raising spirits, offsprings in the Fade. And the Fade, damn it. Terrible twos indeed. Forestfall. Truth and legend in the search for Arlathan. Survivors, poppycock. The origin of thesis, knowing more than everyone without looking like a jackass. Never get the time to read this. Maybe there's a stage play? Irving's Mistakes. I followed another apprentice through supposed secret maneuvers today and exposed her tendency towards blood magic. The environment of the tower is such that certain modes of thought are encouraged, both for good and ill. The students think we toy with them. The truth is far more intricate and directed. Deviant traits must be exposed early, or the whole of the circle suffers. Aldred has been very helpful in identifying the markers to look for. His skills and misdirection are admirable. I dare say that the apprentices would be shocked at his ability to manipulate them. I must organize a retreat such that the other enchanters can benefit from his skill. Except from the Journal of First Enchanter Irving. Oh my. Promises of Pride. Ardred will show us the way. Finally, recognition within the circle and freedom from the scornful eye of the Templars. We will not be shunned. Be ready. Enchanter Gravid Libertarian. I have spoken to him directly. His intentions are that we will demand the Templars to withdraw. Will demand the Templars withdraw. I don't know that I'm willing to follow, but I will be present to hear his argument. Enchanter Fonst Equitarian. Madness! I doubt blood will be of use to you if it is flowing down the tower steps. Step away from this folly before it consumes us all. Enchanter Leuven Loyalist. Extracurricular Studies. I have the utmost sympathy for what happened to your child, but it is beyond the Circle's ability to anticipate every obscure demise that an apprentice might face, especially involving methods outside the already extensive realm of magical study. We simply don't have the room for additional training facilities, and there are concerns about becoming too inclusive that I will not elaborate on. Your request is denied. First Enchanter Sinclair. Notice herewith that the exercise area of fourth floor shall serve as permanent berthing for the Templar garrison stationed at the tower. Since facilities that accommodate their particular training requirements are already on hand, they will be assuming an even closer watch over Circle affairs. Enchanter Bergin's optional weapons training is cancelled until further notice. Enchanter Bergin has additionally stepped down from teaching duties. First Enchanter Sinclair. Controls, I'll take a quick look at. That's just the fade shape-shifting stuff. Quest related. A roll-up note. Oh, that was that. Summoning Sciences. I think I read part of it in the well, I think I read a part of it, but I'll read it out again. I'll cut it out from the first video if that's the case, or from here. Spirit Hawk. The equivalent of a Fade bottom feeder, the gullet of the Spirit Hawk can contain minor gems, presumably coalesced from ethereal elements in the Fade. Such creatures cannot survive in the mortal realm without summoner intervention. Trickster Wynne, an immoral entity that delights in observing corporeal and emotional discomfort. A dangerous preference, given that such creatures have little understanding or interest in the fragility of mortal flesh. Fade Rifter. The Rifter is an assembled consciousness given form in the moment of ritual. Its appearance is intended to frighten the summoning apprentice, ensuring they respect the fate. While essentially a constructed beast, is nonetheless a very real and possessed of a fearsome will to be free. The Scrolls of Banastor. To align with the power of the Fade is but the first of many steps. Further is to align the mind to the Fade rules and find the ties between the realm of dream and the realm of flesh. This is the true power of blood magic. The flesh and the mind are inseparable, and therein lies the power to influence and control minds. Below the text are indecipherable runes and stains of blood and ink. Others may speak of the sanctity of the mind. To those who know the true power of the blood, this is foolishness. The mind is no more sacred than the knee, the small toe, or the ear. It is man's organ of reasoning, nothing more. And true reasoning requires connection to the rhythm of the blood. The tireless pounding of life interrupt this, and even the mind is yours to control. Below the text is a diagram of a blood magic ritual in progress with no notation or description. 5 pages, 4 mages. Tome Deus V Eternus. What? That doesn't make any sense. That isn't even Latin. In Malefictorum Dragos Teventim, solariat vendeos mentoris pluratic ven contra varian. Spake he the words and brought life, speak you the words, ascension. Answers lie in text illegible. Notes on the page below. Here I begin my study, knowing full well it will change the circle forever. Let history mark the date that this work began, 929 Dragon, so that when new calendars are put to paper, the date Fonst 00 is known with certainty. Fonst? Never mind. From the mouths of gods, finally to the people, through me, Enchanter Fonst. Oh, he's naming the age after himself, you know. Tome Deus V Eternus. In Malefictorum Dragos Teventim Solariat, Swift-hearted. Notes on the page below. 479 sovereigns plus favors. Immortality worth every coin. Words of creation. Proof of maker. No one must know until translations are complete. I will have first enchanted the ear of kings. I will own kings. Glory everlasting. Enchanter mode out. I'm trying to understand the Solariat Vendeos Mentoris. Doesn't even make sense. It isn't even similar to Latin. Never mind. Again! Is it always the same? Soliar, yes, it's always the same, isn't it? Notes on the page below. A strange script, uniform with steady hand. Yes, one would expect an agent of the Maker to be steady. In fact, it follows all my expectations of the words the Maker would bestow. It is perfect, and once translated, I will have such fun lording this over to the chantry. Worth every bit. Enchanter Gaius. Again, notes on the page below. Maker take the vendor, a copy, a fake. Why didn't I see? It was obvious. Spake, laughing stock. No one must know. Bear Drum, I find him. I'll kill him. I'll kill him. And again. Notes on the page below. The words elude me, but I will defy their obstinateness. Worked by the old gods or the Maker himself, I will wring their secrets into my hands. I need the essence of the powerful and the pure, and so begins the a bloody road. But at the end, godhood, the keys to the Black City, Enchanter Uranus. They're all insane. Watchguard of the Reaching. Again, I think I've had it in one of the other videos, but I don't know. Today we passed even further, far beyond any reach of man. The inverted glow of the Black City was always on the horizon of perception, but the path eludes as always. Untraveled in memory, living or otherwise, there is a pull and whispers abound. Something great is there, and away from this, always in peripheral, another mind untethered. Tomorrow I will reach out with my full attention and try to rescue him from his listing. Can someone else have come this far? These wonders we will share. Ritual note, the vessel in hand, words from another time, drip literal power. Documents of the Reaching, estimated 2nd century ancient. First, Enchanter appointed Watchguard of the Reaching to be held in secret. Scribbled in corner. Reaching! Before the circle. Someone else in the fade? I want this. His silver cord transmuted black. Black! There is no wonder his form shattered. What returned was not of the mortal, nor the native fade. Does an afterthought prove the gods when direct action is long missing? There is no purpose to this beast. Let the strength of the tower wither it and memory pass. The only legacy to be taught. Stay focused within the fade. Whims escape to their own action. Ritual note, a sword raised to sever connection. Documents of the Reaching, estimated 2nd century ancient. First Enchanter appointed Watchguard of the Reaching to be held in secret. Scribbling corner. Court, peasant magic. I must know, can almost see. Whispers want. Hastily scribbled. Whisper says Great Hall, hidden above us the whole time. The vessel in hand, words from another time, drip literal power. Put on woe. A sword raised to sever connection. Cord cut. A sword lowered, strike through and ground. Bile. The threads placed before a warrior spear raised. Shielded from each side so whispers are known. False. Known false. Where is this? It whispered order, but not where. It's in my head. Alright, we've done that too. På weiter.